and accounting program, totally different. So I was hired to do that one. And while I was hired for that, my friend who I can't even remember where I met him. I met him in Baltimore, but I don't. Anyhow, he had gone to California and gotten a job with Rainbird, and he told them what a great guy I was. So they called me out for an interview. I interviewed with them. They looked at me. They were a little askance because I had a long beard and I had long hair. But they were so impressed by the Wharton. I find it so funny. Everybody there was from Stanford Business School, and they wouldn't hire anybody who was either from Stanford or Harvard Business School. And I came from Wharton, and they knew that when I graduated, Wharton was the business school. It was better than Harvard or Stanford or MIT or anybody else. And even the undergraduate, because I had to take more credits. I could have gotten a master's from it, but anyhow, that's the way it worked. And I was hired because I was a Wharton graduate, even if I was a filthy hippie. So they hired me as a foundry manager. Now here's a guy, I've worked at hard labor, and I've worked in factories doing hard stuff, but now I was going to be put in charge of a foundry, which required also the accounting side of stuff, and I was very deficient in that. But I became the foundry manager. The first day I was out there and I was being introduced, some guy threw a great big hook, this big, that was used to pick up these big tubs filled with molten brass.
I got something in my throat.
Okay. I have water right here.
No, I don't, it's just something in my throat.
Okay, so bring me up to where I was.
The big molten thing.
Oh, the big molten thing. Okay, so there are these things weigh thousands of pounds, and there are these great big iron hooks that hook under each part of the label, pick it up, and then they get put into smaller buckets that are then poured into molds that make Rainbird sprinklers and valves and all this sort of stuff. And so somebody threw a hook at me the very first day. I'm just getting introduced, and the hook went like that right past me. I said, "Oh, okay, guys." So I immediately got myself a hard hat. Now, you can get a regular hard hat or a white hat or a red hat or whatever you want. I got a gold hat. It's hanging up there along with the keffiyeh. It's a gold hard hat, and that's what I wore. I said, I'm the manager. I wear the gold hard hat. And, throw those damn hooks at me. I don't care. But they soon found out that they didn't like hippies, and they certainly didn't like managers who didn't know the first thing about foundries. And, there was a lot of reason why they wouldn't like me. And so they found out very quickly, though, that I was on their side. I wasn't on management's side. Hey guys, I'm not on management's side, I'm on your side. So I'm going to do everything I can to make your workplace as good as it can be under the circumstances, because a foundry is a horrible, dirty, noisy, dangerous place. And this was before OSHA. So, people were supposed to put earplugs in, they didn't. And one of my truck drivers was forklift driver was totally deaf because he had not done it, And the guys who were on the line had various disabilities because they were little guys, the Mexican Chicano, they were about my size, and they were picking up these 100-pound things filled with sand and brass, and the whole thing itself was heavy, and then they would have to put the molten metal into it and then push it down the line so that at the other end they could break it apart and have the finished product. And so in order to make life as easy as possible for them, one of the things that they needed was money, obviously. The engineer came to me and he said, the sand conveyor belt is broken, and I have to repair it, and it's going to take 2 days. I looked at him, I said, oh no, it's not. You're going to get it finished today, and before this shift is over. And I said, and you're going to take me in and show me what the problem is. Oh, but you'll get dirty and you'll have to crawl on the floor under with all this dirt and all the rest of the stuff. You're the manager. You don't do that. I'm the engineer. No. You're depriving my workers of money. I'm going in there. And I took a look at it and I said, and you're going to tell me that this is going to take a whole day or even a half a day? You fix that up now. Get it done. So a foundry manager who he had never encountered before, no foundry manager gets down on his knees and crawls underneath all of this heavy equipment to tell him, you better get it right. And so he did. And the workers went back to work and they made their money. And that was good. That was excellent. And then when another machine came in and the owners told me that I had to teach these guys and it was going to take 6 weeks to teach them, and that and that they had to turn out so much. They had to turn out 100, whatever it was, an hour, and with this new thing, but we don't expect it at first. You start off with 25, and then you work your way up slowly until they're used to the machine and they can do it. Hell no. I mean, these people live on piecework, and you're depriving them of a living. So I went in there and running 3 shifts. So I went in there and I explained to each of the shifts, what the process was and what was asked of them. And then they got, say, a week to just get familiar with the stuff. And then after that, crank it up to full bore, and boom, they were turning them out. And they were making good money as a consequence because of lots more pieces coming out. And management called me in and put me on the carpet, and they said, you're pushing these people too hard. And I said, no, I'm not. They're doing it on their own. The only thing that I do is I post after each shift how many pieces the shift put out on that machine. And if they did 300, then I wrote 300, and the next shift would come in, and they'd look at it, 300, hell, we can do better than that, because they're all macho, And so they did 310, and then it went up and up and up. And the guys got used to it, and they worked it, and I was getting, blame for pushing them too hard, which, finally management caught on that I wasn't pushing them too hard. I was making lots more production come through, and the people were very happy because they were making a lot more money. Well, so that was the foundry, and I worked there until I was pulled off of the foundry and became the assistant to the vice president of manufacturing, which was just a lot of crap. And so I ended up finally, because it was during a what they called a recession back in whatever that was, 50-something. And I think it was 50-something, or early, I don't know. It was back there some 20 years ago, whatever that might be, or 30 years ago. And so they were laying people off and people off and people off, and finally they laid me off.